What do more expensive fries, self-driving trucks, and Billie Eilish have in common? Today, I'll share my thoughts on the impact of California's fast food minimum wage increase and the rise of artificial intelligence and automation, and above everything else, what that means to us. I'm Jared, a lifelong nerd and ex-Fortune 500 manager in the midst of a career reinvention. I want to share my advice on how we each need to view the rapidly changing landscape to future-proof ourselves and keep from falling victim to becoming obsolete and having machines take our jobs. In 2 words, it comes down to be useful. On April 1st, California raised the minimum wage for its fast food workers to $20 an hour, with a national minimum wage at $7.25 since 2009. This has created an uproar. Depending on your faction, this is either a huge win for workers or a massive pain in the ass for businesses, particularly small companies. Getting at the intent, California's goal was to ensure a living wage for its residents, but if we fast forward, is that really what's going to happen? Indeed, for those businesses that can accommodate this increase, their workers will benefit, at least for now. Prices will likely rise to pass along as much of this added expense as the consumer will tolerate. Some businesses will need to change how they operate to remain viable, and others may need to shut down entirely. Regardless, the outcome is likely the elimination of some of these jobs in one way or the other. Short term, it's probably downsizing and closure, but in the long term, the more probable impact is the increase in automation. Everywhere you look, jobs are being eliminated and replaced with machines. This is a familiar phenomenon, as we'll get into. The question is, what will be the ultimate impact, and is this good or bad? From an economic theory perspective, such improvements are an overall societal benefit. We get cheaper stuff. People can focus on higher skilled, greater value added opportunities, unless you're one of those jobs that was eliminated. They also benefit from the overall cost improvement, but that's an area the rest of society and the government must invest to ensure that they have the proper skills for other labor opportunities. Farming is the most historical example of automation and mechanization causing a major shift in labor and productivity. As technology improved from hand farming to tools to plows, tractors, and beyond, we produced enough food using less labor. This isn't just in the US. We can look at birth rates over time and how that correlates with the ability to shift labor into other areas of the economy. I love playing the board game Agricola as much as the next nerdy person, but that's as much pre-industrial farming as I need to experience. I don't think there's too many people who would argue that tractors are a bad thing from the perspective of how many jobs they eliminated. If we go back to the early 1800s, 70 to 80% of the US workforce was dedicated to agriculture. Today, that number is well below 2%. Look at all those jobs taken by tractors. And investing in tractors is so expensive, that'll never catch on. The same phenomenon applies across industries, and it's often labor cost shocks to the system that shift the economies to where investment in automation forces innovation. There was no reason to innovate in the pre-Civil War South as cheap labor was plentiful. However, as plantations clung to their outdated labor models, they ultimately lost to those who invested in equipment, training, and automation. This also happened in the textile industry. In the book Travels of a T-Shirt in the Global Economy, Pietro Rivoli examines the evolution of cotton farming and the garment manufacturing industry over the past several hundred years. While many, particularly politicians, like pointing at China and other countries as the reason these jobs leave developed countries like the US, automation is really the real culprit. The race to the bottom of labor costs and health and safety standards only goes so far. Ultimately, technology improvements shift an entire industry. I really enjoyed Rivoli's take on this and her storytelling approach to focus on individuals. There's a sponsored link in the description below if you want to check it out and support my channel. Overall, as we look at industries completely transformed by technology and automation, businesses that succeeded leaned into technology as a competitive advantage. Clinging to past ways of working is a road towards failure, while success is most likely for those who are smart with their investment and adoption of technology. Rather than focusing on this is how the job has always been done, cheap labor, focus on the desired outcome. In the case of fast food, it's arguably to provide nutrition to customers. With rare exceptions in fast food, employee engagement and enthusiasm are seldom part of the value proposition. So how can you achieve the same outcome differently? Enter the rise of the machines. In any industry, as wages rise, technology is an opposing force offering a different way of doing the same thing. While initially the investment and development of an automated solution are too expensive, access to cheap labor tends to win. However, as labor costs rise with the standard of living, such as those sought by California, at some point, the costs decrease and the capabilities of automation increase to the point where it makes sense to eliminate the task and potentially that worker. The economic shift to where it's worth investing in new systems to eliminate labor, shifting it to the machine. Cost and capabilities of this equipment just keep improving as they gain scale on knowledge on how to do it better. We're already seeing this in fast food as automated self-ordering stations pop up everywhere, and if you peek behind the counter at the drive-thru, you see the robots organizing and filling drinks. And there's some companies that are pushing even further into automation, such as Sweet Green's salad robot or the Chipotle guacamole robot. Okay, so I get it. Fast food wage hike drives innovation and automation. Where else are we going to see this? I next want to call back to last year's UPS wage hike. The UPS Teamsters contract negotiation was a big deal, and they were very proud to announce that the average driver will now make $175,000 per year. We'll ignore the math that went into this talking point and how benefits and overtime were included, but let's focus on that's a lot of money for transporting and delivering packages. Nothing against you, guy who delivers my Amazon stuff. It's just highlighting that higher wages will spur investment in automation. While the last mile of delivery remains the most expensive part of the equation, there are a variety of ways that automation creeps in as labor costs rise. Amazon continues to advance its drone delivery approach. However, there's another technology that I have my eye on following the UPS wage hike, and that's self-driving, particularly long-haul transportation on highways. While fully autonomous driving remains challenging, one of the first exceptional commercial applications could be eliminating long-haul trucking jobs. There's fewer distractions and challenges in automating highway driving compared to driving inside cities. Trucking also remains the dominant form of freight transportation in the US, clocking in at 64% by weight and 69% by value of all US commerce. That's a lot of money that could be unlocked through autonomous driving. It overcomes the labor costs and time, and also the regulatory factors that monitor things like driver fatigue. While moving people and replacing taxis and human transportation often gets the headlines, long-haul trucking may be the first place that we see meaningful disruption in labor through automation. So, machines are taking over through automation, got it. But my job's safe, right? Let's talk about AI. Shifting to Billie Eilish, she joined a group of musicians who shared an open letter to big tech and AI developers to back off their music generation approaches. Yes, I'll admit a lot of this involves using copyrighted materials to train systems and seeking fair compensation or the ability to opt out of such training, and I'm not going to get into the debate over the legality and implications of that. Instead, I want to focus on how this impacts us and our approach to remain relevant in a rapidly changing society. Particularly as a guy who likes more creative writing and content generation while nerding out at night with data analysis and spreadsheets just for fun, now the machines are getting into my territory. So what should we do? From a musician standpoint, or even you watching me talk about this stuff, the question is, what value do we bring? Just like the McDonald's worker, the UPS driver, or the farmer from 100 years ago, if the same outcome can be achieved through automation, it will inevitably happen. The musician and me now need to focus on what we can do to add differentiation. So thought question for you. Let's assume AI music takes off. Would you go to a concert for your favorite AI system? What does that even look like? I'm excited to see how that question ages, and let's see if I do better than Steve Ballmer laughing at the iPhone in 2007.
$500 fully subsidized, the most expensive phone in the world, and it doesn't appeal to business customers because it doesn't have a keyboard.
So back to music. Is a pop star's only value generating unique music? I don't think so. It's an overall performance, idolization, lifestyle, and community engagement aspect that draws people in. AI will just make them work harder to fulfill their real role. Don't just fear and seek to shut down AI. Figure out how to add unique value. Maybe some people would be excited to see AI eliminate pop stars, and the Super Bowl side story this year would have been entirely different. But I digress. We all need to consider AI. While automation consumes lower paid jobs, recent studies suggest that artificial intelligence will impact the majority of all roles, particularly higher skilled positions. The question is, what do we do about it? One of my former coworkers had a great personal career mantra: be useful. Being useful is a simple but profoundly deep thought. It suggests that you're not replaceable, or at least it's not worth figuring out another way to do it while you're around. It implies adding value for someone else. It also implies a time element. Usefulness is judged by what is needed today. So how can each of us strive to be useful? Maintaining usefulness requires adaptation and evolution. What was useful yesterday may not be useful today. Tasks may be completely different. Situations change. Competition may enter that renders our contributions yesterday less valuable than today. Things can shift in the direction that make your skills more useful, but often, the higher the value of the task, the bigger the target competition places on it. I see this as an issue for people who want things to stay the same and expect the same results. Listen to me, if you stand still, you will fall behind. There is someone or something looking to take your job. You need to remain aware of your unique value proposition. It's a risk for someone to come in and replace you. Sure, we can go the route of protectionism, but at the national level, protecting jobs is a costly proposition that negatively impacts society. Here's a quick table of the costs per job to protect various industries in the US. Certainly some industries are worth protecting for national security reasons. Still, for others, better economic alternatives exist to automate or just let the jobs leave or become obsolete entirely. That is not an amazing political stump speech, hence why I have a YouTube channel and I'm not running for office. The consequences can be severe for the individual impacted, and that should be the government's focus to provide resources and facts about reality to keep people growing. Promising to roll back the clock sounds great in the short term, but the long-term cost in a global economy is significant, as there is someone out there still investing in automation and innovation. The core issue remains being useful. I don't want to pick on a single region or profession, so I'll go historical and I'll pick on horse-drawn carriage manufacturers. Obviously, this was once a major industry in the US. However, the automobile made that business obsolete, putting many people out of work. I imagine there were those at the time that were thinking, this thing will never catch on. The roads aren't made for cars. Cars are totally unreliable at this point, and there's no infrastructure for refueling, and straw is already everywhere to feed our horses for long trips. We've worked this whole horse system out, so why change? Think of all the jobs that'll be lost. Think of the cost of reinventing our transportation system. It seems like the benefit was worth it for us to make the change. It's not to say that all carriage companies went out of business, as you can still buy some today. However, the companies that survived needed to find their unique value proposition and be willing to participate in a much smaller niche industry. Most of the workers, however, needed to make a change in their skills to find a new way to be useful. Today, we must look at our jobs and assess the impact of automation and AI. Remember, if you're doing something valuable, there's someone else looking at how to do it better, more efficiently, and cheaper. The more valuable the activity, the more eyes that you'll have on it. Which brings me to my YouTube journey. Part of my YouTube experience is learning new skills on the back end, and a big area of that is the use and application of generative AI. ChatGPT and I have become good friends. It's a personal assistant, gives me frequent feedback. Heck, it's my art department. I found ways to be more productive by using it, providing me ideas for titles, reviewing my scripts, suggesting tags and descriptions, and even generating content ideas. In my research before starting this channel, I found a ton of videos on using AI to make money, creating fully faceless channels with AI-generated scripts, voiceovers, videos, and even music. As I think about the role that I'm fulfilling, that's my competition. I could complain that that's not fair and look how much work that I'm putting into my videos, but short of banning the use of AI, which potentially inhibits societal value to you, I need to use that as my inspiration for how to add unique value. How do I remain useful to you? Just like the musicians, I hope that it's my personal perspective and how I deliver this content in a genuine human way that develops a following, potential business opportunities to collaborate, and connect and add value. That's how I want to be useful. And it means outcompeting AI to be useful for you. Many things are more challenging for a person than for a machine, but the effort really isn't what you're paying for. It's the end product and the unique value that's added. Fries likely don't taste better when made by a teenager making $20 an hour than made by a robot specifically trained to maintain oil temperature, specific cooking times, and seasoning and salt application. In most cases, I'd likely prefer the robot fries. This leaves me and you with our challenge. How do we add unique value? What is our way to be useful? We need to be willing to be our own competition. We need to be aware that our replacement is lurking, and if we're not improving, we risk falling behind. We need to challenge ourselves to improve and grow and be useful to those willing to pay us for our effort. Countless companies have ignored shifting technology landscape and consumers' behaviors and lost their lead or failed entirely. Just because you had utility and value yesterday doesn't mean your customers won't change and that the same model will always work in the future. In fact, it's typically the opposite. Right now, it's realizing we're in the middle of a larger, faster change threatening to reshape work in ways that's difficult to anticipate. So how do we overcome this? And how can we be optimistic in the face of this big unknown? For me, it's learning how to harness these tools to amplify my productivity. It's learning prompt engineering while figuring out my secret sauce that offers a unique value proposition in videos like this. Just like musicians in the future, we need to continue figuring out how to outperform AI, not looking to stop it. So far, I've learned ChatGPT is way better than me at some things and saves me a lot of time, so I use it. I leverage the technology to amplify my productivity and value. I don't intentionally make it harder on myself unnecessarily because there's not value there for you. I have found ChatGPT isn't as great at adding humor and pop culture references.
So I got that going for me, which is nice.
But I need to be aware that AI is improving. Even my lead in the humor area seems to be losing ground, as version 4.0 this week has definitely made significant strides. Should I be successful and even get into triple or even four-figure subscriber numbers, others will see my content and try to replicate my style, just like I'm studying other channels to learn from them. With enough input, AI is also going to gain that skill. I just need to keep evolving and being the best me I can be at that moment. And that's my advice to you. Keep growing. Be your best you. Add unique value. Be useful. No matter what our line of work is, we need to keep advancing and not become complacent. We can't rest on past success and expect the same rewards in the future. The bar will always continue to be raised, either by other individuals or machines. Sometimes it may mean being replaced entirely. We must be aware and stay ahead of the competition with our skills and the value we add, or be ready to find a new career if we can't keep up. So what are you doing to maintain and improve your usefulness? Share your experiences in the comments. What suggestions do you have for others to remain relevant and expand the right skills? I appreciate that you found me useful enough to keep watching to this point, and consider liking this video to help others see it. Unless you're a bot, and in that case, thanks at least for the viewed video time, and screw you for stealing my style. If you're looking for something else to watch, I have another video coming soon on the jobs to be done framework that takes a different look at what it means to be useful. Once it's released, I'll have a link over here somewhere or in the description below. Please comment below and share your thoughts, maybe even on how I can be more useful and potential topics to cover in the future. As always, thanks so much for watching. Keep thinking, and we'll talk again soon.